Earlier this week, lawmakers demanded to know what the FBI had learned when it investigated Boston Marathon bombing suspect Tamerlan Tsarnaev. The agency had been tipped off by Russian officials that the suspect should be looked into for possible extremist ties, but a review by the FBI did not find any serious red flags. Tamerlan Tsarnaev was killed more than a week ago in that shootout with police. His younger brother and alleged accomplice, Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, is being held in a prison hospital. So here to help us understand how the FBI conducts its investigations, we're joined by KTRK security analyst Jim Conway. He is a former FBI special agent. Jim, thanks for coming in again this morning.
Pleasure to be here.
And a lot of people are asking questions focusing on the FBI's methods. But the methods for investigation are governed by congressional law.
By law, yeah. We are a nation. We are still a nation of laws. And without getting into the details too much, the FBI has limits on what kind of an investigation or the breadth and the depth of that investigation based on simply a referral. Look, the Congress doesn't want the FBI, and I think the American people are comfortable with this, do not want the FBI doing deep, detailed investigations simply on a referral. So there's a limitation on the breadth and the depth and the time on that investigation. And understand the FBI gets literally thousands of these every year.
And let's talk about Russia's cooperation in all of this, because this was done by the request of the Russian government, but how much they give the FBI to go on makes a difference.
Sure. We get a lot of these referrals. The FBI asked the Russian government, through our Legat office in Moscow, asked the FBI to take a look at this. And the FBI did basically a scrub on it. They take a look at his contacts, they interview him, they do a basic investigation, sent that information back to the Russians with some additional questions in order to do more, and apparently didn't get anything else back.
There was late word this weekend that there was a phone call that the Russian government knew about in 2011 between the older suspect Tamerlan and their mother discussing jihad. Would information like that perhaps have been enough to do more of an investigation?
It's very difficult to say. Were the Russians on that phone call? What was the content of that discussion and so forth? Interestingly enough, Tamerlan was over in Russia for about a 6-month period. That's been a big question and a big hole in the investigation, and they'll drill down and determine what actually went on there. But what did the Russians do during that period of time? What steps did they take to neutralize any kind of activity, and why did they not then come back to the FBI with additional information, raising additional red flags? So there's a lot of questions, but I think a lot of the criticism is unfounded. You've got to understand there are literally thousands of these every year that the FBI looks at a limited basis. If they find something derogatory and something more serious, they open a full investigation.
We have a little time left for this last question. A recent development this week, too, the decision to give the younger brother remaining his Miranda rights. How does that change how much information we might be able to get from him?
Yeah, I don't think that's a big game changer. The media has been making a big thing of that. That happened in the Detroit bombing case. Abdulmutallab was read his rights almost immediately. But that's a Department of Justice. That's a larger decision that's made within the Department of Justice by the Attorney General. And they made that decision. But I don't think it's all is lost, because the FBI still will maintain contact with he and his legal counsel, and he still may be cooperating and still may be able to provide information. I'm not that concerned about that.
All right, Jim Conway, thank you for coming in today. And for the latest developments on the investigation into the Boston Marathon bombings, you can stay with Eyewitness News. We'll have updates for you both on the air and on our website at abc13.com.